But we begin tonight with Chief Justice John Roberts, who just 7 months ago granted Donald Trump sweeping powers of immunity. In granting him immunity and impunity, Roberts explained that it was necessary because a president must not be chilled from taking bold and unhesitating action required of an independent executive. Mere laws be damned. President Trump took Roberts' permission slip to heart, issuing an unprecedented pause of all, I repeat, all federal grants and loans, which was supposed to go into effect at 5 p.m. Eastern today, less than 24 hours after every agency was informed. But because there is still a rule of law, at 4:59 p.m., a federal judge in Washington, D.C. temporarily halted the funding freeze until next Monday so she can review its legality. Yesterday's news immediately plunged the country into chaos because the directive could affect trillions of dollars that Congress has already approved for things like Head Start, cancer research, special needs kids, local law enforcement, opioid treatment, and a myriad of other initiatives. And not to step on the judge here, and I am clearly not a lawyer, but yeah, the funding freeze is unlawful on its face because, Congress is the one that has the power of the purse. And they already approved the money to be spent. I guess bold and unhesitating action means ignoring the Constitution, or ignoring the Supreme Court and that other law banning TikTok, or ignoring a 2022 law requiring the president to give a rationale and 30 days notice to Congress before firing the inspector generals that he already fired. Maybe you can be bold and unhesitating when you hire the folks from the Heritage Foundation who wrote Project 2025. The ones who told us the federal government should stop funding pretty much everything except tax cuts for the super rich and corporations, like Russell Vought, the soon-to-be director of the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, who wrote in the Project 2025 manifesto, quote, the president should use every possible tool to propose and impose fiscal discipline on the federal government. Anything short of that would constitute abject failure. While Trump was pausing federal funding and making it harder for working class folks to get ahead, he was asking Congress to pony up billions of dollars for his theatrically cruel immigration raids. NBC News is reporting that ICE plans on hitting 3 big, most likely Democratic cities every week. It's unclear if raids are planned for rural areas in Republican states with businesses known to hire unauthorized immigrants, too. And just hours before his administration announced the funding freeze, Trump was telling reporters that he wanted to make sure his billionaire buddies will be paying lower taxes permanently. His Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, meanwhile, was telling the Financial Times that they also want to implement a 2.5% increase in universal tariffs, which will go up by the same amount each month, which you get to pay for with higher prices at the store. But, at least Elon, Mark, Jeff, and most of Trump's cabinet won't have to worry about paying for a thing. Joining me now is Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Her new book, the young adult edition of her New York Times bestseller, True Gretch, is out today. Thank you so much for being here, Governor. Let's go through this because this is, I'm holding here the first few pages of the lawsuit that was filed by multiple states, including yours, regarding this emergency temporary restraining order about funding for the federal government. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It requires all federal agencies to conduct a review of all federal financial assistance supporting activities for consistency with current presidential policy, including the slate of executive orders directing immigration activities, eradicating DEI initiatives from federal programs, eliminating protections for members of the LGBTQ community, and removing conservation-focused regulations intended to protect the environment. In other words, it sounds like they're freezing all of the money that your state is entitled to because they want to root out help for gay people and the environment and any person who's diverse. That seems pretty sick to me, but your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Joy, I think that these Trump cuts are going to have a devastating impact on people's lives. There's no question about it. When we think about food assistance, food prices are through the roof, right? We already know eggs and avian flu, what it means, but the talk about tariffs is going to increase the cost of our blueberries, right? It's going to increase the cost of building a home or being able to afford a car or getting a job on the line in a state like Michigan. That's a big deal. But this is about American manufacturing. This is about our ability to get ahead. And this kind of chaos with these Trump cuts are now making it even harder for law enforcement to monitor the, sexual predator registration. So this is going to have a direct negative impact on Americans' lives all across this country. Whether you voted for President Trump or not, we're all going to pay a price for the chaos that this is creating.
Let me play for you Carolyn Levitt, who is the new White House spokesperson. She was asked about the sort of confusing nature of this freeze because there's lots of alarm out here. People who are thinking student grants will be gone. Medicaid is a big one that people are worried about, Head Start. She's asked about that today, and here's what she said.
So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you.
As the governor of Michigan, have you got clarity on whether Medicaid payments, Head Start, school lunch, whether that's cut too or frozen too?
No, I think cut's probably the right word, Joy. The money was appropriated. It was supposed to be, done. And now I think it's throwing everything into chaos. And when the administration has a hard time answering the questions about what the ramifications are, it tells you that it is not something that they've even considered what the outcome's going to be.